Hey everybody. Good morning. It's Tuesday, November 28th, 2017. How you doing? It's early. It's early. So, starting a new morning podcast. I don't know if it'll be daily. I'll try. I'll try to do it daily. Some fucking days, folks, I just I don't feel like talking. Um, but the reason why I'm doing the morning podcast, get it fuck out. Let's just get this all out the way. Is I started the SketchCraft podcast 2011, 2010, around there, and I did it for about 4 years, and it was a way for me to like kind of vent about my career, and try to give some of that advice, uh, pay it forward, right? And then I eventually put it on YouTube because the podcast kind of hit some limitations, and it was costing me like $300 a year or something like that. So put it on YouTube so I don't have to pay for hosting. And now we do our tips, whatever else. I do. But I don't really think it's a good place for me to just have like just a normal, regular old conversation about whatever. Some days I just like to talk. You know, it's my problem. I like to talk too much. uh, but I also think it's good to do a little short form, right? A little 20-minute, a little 20, 30-minute thing, maybe even 10 minutes, who knows? Something small, something to start off the day. Wake my head up while I drink my coffee. I got I get this Turkish style coffee from Bolivia. I got it at the Walmart, 22 cents a pound. It's pretty good. Comes pre-ground, which I normally grind my own coffees, but the Turkish blend is like this really fine powder. So if you get like a small coffee pot and the smallest little pot you can get, sorry, it's coffee pot. Get a small stove pot, right? I fill it up to about a half inch under, so it's about 2 cups worth of water, a little over 2 cups, because it's gonna evaporate. A little over 2 cups of water. Boil that to the point of boiling, like right before it boils. When it just starts to bubble, take it off the heat, put 2 tablespoons of this stuff in there, stir it up, put a lid on top, let it sit for 3 minutes. Stir one more time, let it sit for 3 minutes, and then I filter it out. Like I got a big strainer, like a kind of use for like a soup or something, like a big handle one. I pour it through there first, and then I put it through this small little cone metal strainer I got on this like Bunsen beaker style coffee pot thing. I don't know. Anyway, so filter it myself. And then I mix it with a tablespoon of butter, a tablespoon of coconut oil, and wakes me up. Wakes me up. So it's 2017, so it's been 20 years almost since I started this little fucking adventure. October 12th, 1997 was the day I went to the mall with a friend, and she wanted to get me a birthday present. My birthday was on the 10th, and so we're hanging out a couple days after, and she said, "I want to get you something," and I got this Power Myth, which was a interview that Bill Moyers did with Joseph Campbell on PBS, and it had been airing on PBS at the time, and I wanted the full transcript because I know Joseph Campbell had an influence on George Lucas at the time. I didn't know a lot about Lucas. I've been following, but there wasn't a lot of information to have. So that was the year the special editions came out. So I got the Power Myth, and I read it, and it was all about uh, going through the stages of life and symbolism and stories to the right of becoming a fucking person and going through the transformation process of like boy to soldier, soldier to man, or girl to, you know, soldier, girl to mother, whatever figure, timeless tropes, basically. And I just decided, I read it all that night. It's a short read, and I just kept reading it. But that night, I decided I gotta change my life. I mean, I gotta at least try to become the artist I always wanted to be, right? And here we are, 20 years later. Uh, Art-wise, I like it. Career-wise, I don't know if I was so smart. You know, uh, it's probably not what you want to hear first thing in the day, right? Where you're like, "Come on, Rob, you get to draw for a living." Like, um, yeah, and no, yeah, and no. So there are there are just a lot of things, that I think have gotten so much better in 20 years as an artist. They've gotten better. Like the variety of art styles is amazing. The fact that you got people doing like that Mary Blair Disney style next to the Jim Lee, super LA cross-hatched, over-detailed characters, um, next to the realistic anime style faces and paintings, next to uh, it just goes on and on, right? Like you got all these different styles. Um, I think the downside, though, right, is that I I I see artists wanting to learn. They want to learn less and less, and they kind of just want to be praised more and more. Like, you know, I see artists just putting stuff on Facebook, putting stuff on Twitter, putting stuff on DeviantArt, putting stuff on Instagram, and it's like they hit a limit. They want to get better, but when you're like, "Hey, go work on construction and perspective and shit," they're just like, they don't want to do it, you know. And I mean, it's never been. I guess it's never fucking been. Hmm, I don't think that's ever been that different. But I guess the problem is you have to see it, right? Like with this wonderful internet, you have to like you see it, and like for me, I try to filter a lot of it out. But some days it's just right in your face. You get like the same question, and you keep giving the same answers and answers. I don't know. You know, advice is tricky, folks. Like you can give it, and someone can take it 100% to heart and act on it and have zero success and then be like, yeah, I do everything you told me to do. I'm like, well, I guess it didn't work out for you that way. Like, I just remember it was this when I was a kid, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to draw at a level in between Jeff Smith from Bone and Todd McFarlane from Spawn, like somewhere between there, and somewhere in Miyazaki, like Disney anime 90s kind of like pops mainstream art, Um, no clue how I would monetize it, other than I just figured, there'll always be Image Comics or there'll be some way to self-publish. I just want to be able to draw well, like that, and that's what I consider well. Nowadays, I mean, I don't know, it gets tough. It gets tough when you see artists sometimes posting up blogs like how to draw boobs the right way, how to draw feet the right way, how to draw hands the right way, and I'm just like, it gets frustrating because I think you need to understand how things are constructed. I think you need to understand how they work, and then how you draw them, like your own way is more important than I'm not gonna tell you how to draw fucking boot. I mean, you can be gratuitous, but then if you're selling gratuitous art, like I'm gonna tell someone not to sell gratuitous art. I won't buy it, but I'm not gonna tell someone not to fucking draw some shit. I get to be the art police. I get to tell people how to draw, right? You should draw things like this. I mean, I don't want. I had art directors telling me how to draw, and rightly so. It's their fucking company, like. But you get to the point now where it's just like I don't. I'm gonna tell you, folks. Anyone that puts out a blog about how you should draw, I just fucking block them or delete that shit. I don't like. I don't need that You know, where were those people 20 years ago when I was outside being rained on El Nino, you know, reading this book and sketching every night and trying to figure out how to be able to produce these things in my head and all the fucking years I went through, going through the army and going through college and going through drawing in my car, and to have one artist who's been successful, or you know, a dozen artists who've been successful, all giving, you know, me the fucking deal, like how I'm gonna draw some shit. You know. That being said, if I wanted to get better at how to draw, how I like to draw, hey, you gotta go back to the basics. You know, like this right here, this is like the basic form. This is the most basic form of podcasting you can get, right? You just have a conversation, trying to have it slowly, you know, trying to talk at a moderate pace. I can talk fast, right? I think y'all know. I can talk too fast. So you probably shouldn't talk at the same rate at which you think, unless, you know, you're freestyling or you're Eminem. So back to basics. That's basically what this is. For no reason other than just, I don't know. Sometimes when I'm having these podcasts, like I'll have Brandon on or Bacon or Ashley, it's like I have them on. I don't know how to, like, unless we're talking about pop culture or specific art tips. Like, what is all this? You know, the only reason why it says SketchCraft up here is because getting people to pronounce my last name is just too much fucking trouble. It's just easier to remember some other name, right, than my name. Like, it's just, I always blend in. Like, for whatever reason, like, I always disappear. So, if I was like, maybe my name has something to do with it. So, if I remove the name, it might be easier for people to remember. It's worked for me, you know. But in terms of just talking, I mean, you gotta coordinate and shit with people. So that's why I do the podcast, like where we just talk about movies and shit. I do that fucking once a month now. And I got a reminder, I got documents I gotta make and links, and then I gotta, you know, and I don't even know why I do that, just because I like talking about shit. Always have. I've been recording my own radio program since I was in the fifth or fourth grade. Got a tape deck from a tape, got a little cassette player that recorded from one of my aunts for Christmas one year. Yeah, it was the one right after my mom left, and mom this Christmas '87, so 30 years ago. Yeah, so 30 years ago, my mom left me on this doorstep on Christmas. You know, she just kind of gave up with life and disappeared for a while. So the following Christmas, my aunt, who I had been close with for a long time, stopped talking to my mom, gave me this tape deck, and so I would sit there and just started reading my own comics and making my own little radio programs, you know. And when I say comics, I had like two or three comics ever, so I just read those in there so I could listen to them. And then eventually started just doing what everyone does, just make up your own stuff. And I did that for a number of years until I don't know, until high school. And I don't know why I didn't start podcasting early. I started listening to podcasts in 98, 99 with Shane Monroe. Started, it was a live radio, well, no, internet radio, I think he called it at the time. But I mean, Art Bell had been putting his stuff online too with the little webcam around 95, 96. So I just, I don't know, I just didn't feel like I'd had enough to say. And then you get to like 2011, and I went through this career of fucking nonsense, art career of nonsense, and felt like I should put something out there to warn people to never do, never make the mistakes. Or if you make them, here's how you can kind of like cope. It's hard to tell people to not make mistakes. We're all gonna do it, right? So I gotta work on. What do I gotta do today? I gotta do some designs for Tom. It's funny. I did these designs for Tom. He's developing this new book, and over at Big Dog Ink. And I love Tom. It's just funny because I sent him a bunch of designs and we're going back and forth, and he finally like kind of like mocked something up in Microsoft Paint and he sent it off to me. And I just looked at it and I'm like, why don't you just do the art? Like, what do you need me for? He's like, no, 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 no. I arrived at this because of, could you, I'm saying a lot. Sorry. But he was like, no, no, I only arrived at this because of the work that you've done, and you just still need your style. And the facetious part of me is like, you fucking like, I don't know. Do you need my style? Like, this is a design. I mean, it looks you know, looks bad, but it's a design. I mean, how do you feel about that? Like, I know for me, having worked on some indie books and some comics, like when I get designs, I don't feel, especially in comics, I don't feel like I should be recreating that look. Those are the designs. Here's my version of that design. I mean, as long as it's on model enough, people are gonna know the characters once it's colored and shit. So I've always with my designs, when I do designs for people, and I don't do too many anymore, but I've done them for Tom. I know they're gonna be drawn by a artists of different calibers of art style. So I try not to put a lot into the rendering of the character. Just get the design down. Here's the little details. Here's you know the style guide, like how you should render the arms and the elbows. I don't believe in that, especially in comics, because if you're not having your own personal stamp on it, then what's the fucking point? You know. So, but I gotta took the weekend off from working on his shit, so I gotta get that done. I don't do designs for people anymore. Tom's the only person that I seem to put up with doing this. I like Tom, he's been good to me, so I can't have a soft spot. But other than that, I fucking hate it. Like, I think designing characters is hard. And when people are like, "Here's my character, here's my character, here's my character," I'm like, would you just draw that once and put your fucking name on it? Like, how many iterations? How does that character? What does that character say about the story? How does that fit the world the character is going into? Like, there's so many other things beyond. Here's a jacket. Here's a coat. Here's a fucking lightsaber. Here's a mohawk. Here's a side hawk. Here's a trendy. Here they all have stitches on their fucking outfits. There's more about a character than that, and I think too. I think as artists, we only have so many designs like in us before it just tends to like loop back in. Like I feel like when Jim Lee did Wildcats, that was like the next version of his X-Men. Like if he could have iterated X-Men, his 90s X-Men designs one more step, that would be it. And then that's it. There's no more original designs of anything he did that was, I mean, Divine Right is not iconic. It just looks more like Wildcats, like it never went beyond that. And so then when he went to tackle Batman, he was putting his own spin on those characters. That was cool. But in terms of designing from scratch, I think we only have so many, you know? How many has Miyazaki designed before it just sorts of look like either Nausicaa or Totoro or Mononoke? Like it's one of the three, right? The big pillars. So it's just so I try to look at it more like fashion design. Like when I'm working for Tom, like it's more like a version of what I would do in clothing. Well, these are sort of costumes and outfits. I'm not really trying to design characters for them because when I get around to my own work, then I'm gonna be using subconsciously those motifs, those designs into my own stuff, and I'd rather keep that for me. So I turn down design work a lot, actually. The only time I think now I would not is if it were for like something like a Pixar or a Blizzard or like Double Fine, some place where you know it would matter to me. Or are we at here? Almost at 20 minutes. Good times, folks. Good times. So I got that to do. and I got cover Dragon Ball Z stuff to do for power prints and for this freelance project. And then we're gonna ink and finish drawing the line art for this Overwatch commission. And I gotta go drop off the leaves that we raked. I gotta do that. I gotta go drop off the leaves because the trash didn't collect them like they were supposed to for whatever reason. So I gotta go manually drop those off, and I gotta clean my kitchen. I put at least 30 minutes into cleaning every day. So my room is starting to get a little cluttered on the floor. I gotta pick up in here too. I've been going through a bunch of paper types for the color pencil work. So I gotta pick up in here, and I'm gonna make dinner tonight. What am I gonna make for dinner? Let's talk about that for a couple minutes, and then we'll head out here. I'm gonna make bacon burgers. No bun. Bacon burgers on tomato, sliced tomato, with peanut butter and little lettuce and little salad. Maybe I try to keep the food basic during the week. Nothing that takes longer than 20 minutes to cook and to prep and cook. So it's gonna be pretty simple. I gotta marinate the meat. I got this uncured. I only use uncured nitrate-free bacon, and I'll do the sliced tomato. I make this dill mix. It's like I like it. My wife can't stand it, but we're gonna put peanut butter on this shit, so I'll just have it with mustard, peanut butter and mustard. It's gonna be good. And I'll just do some romaine lettuce, little Caesar dressing. Make those myself. So get yourself a food processor when you get older, folks. Make your own salad dressings. It's just cream and fresh herbs and shit. So it's nice. And I think that's it. That's it. So, all right. Uh, till the next podcast. I'll see you. See you all later. Peace.